Hello everyone. In this session we will talk about building a ultra fast supply chain or race to ultra fast supply chain. Now the first question is, what is fast versus ultra fast supply chain? And the second question is, why do we need it? Now, fast versus ultra fast supply chain, we got several examples on those fast and ultra fast supply chain. So, one of the example, a very good example, is from the fashion industry. Now, when we talk about fashion industry, some of the very well-known names in the fashion industries are Zara, H&M, and Forever 21. And then we got Boohoo, ASOS, and Misguided, and several different organizations. Now, fast supply chain, when we talk about fast, or when we try to differentiate fast against ultra fast, it is simply a 3G network. When we compare a 3G mobile phone network to a 5G mobile phone network. So as an example, in 3G mobile phone network, the download speed is maximum 20 Mbps, 20 megabyte per second, and in 5G, the download speed is more than 200 Mbps. So that is an example of fast, which is 20, and ultra fast, which is 200 megabyte per second. So that could be a very quick and easy example of fast and ultra fast supply chain. Now, when we talk about fast supply chain and when we talk about Zara, H&M, or Forever 21, what do you think what their supply chains would be? So, as an example, Zara is known as fast supply chain in fashion industry. Their supply chain from the ramp where they see the fashion shows, the catwalk, and they find a article, a new style of the clothing, and that piece of clothing is available in the store shelves, ready to sell or ready for somebody to buy from the store. How long does it take? What do you think about it? It takes about 15 days, maximum 15 days. Even though Zara's most of the manufacturing in several different countries, some of them are in Far Eastern countries, some of them in European countries, and in different countries as well. So their lead time from the catwalk, from the ramp to rack, ready to sell the product, is about 15 days. That is what we were calling a fast supply chain. Now, what could be the ultra fast supply chain? Now, when we compare with fast and ultra fast, think about it. What could be the lead time on an ultra fast supply chain? And when we think about ultra fast supply chain, Boohoo, Misguided, ASOS, some of the great examples of ultra fast supply chains nowadays. So ultra fast supply chain is again a very quick lead time to deliver fashion items into the store and make it ready to sell. Now, when we talk about ultra fast supply chain, the lead time is about 3 to 4 days, maximum 3 to 4 days from ramp to rack. They came across with a new styles that this is going to sell or this is selling, and then they manufacture it, they distribute it to their stores. But when we talk about stores, Zara, H&M, they all have physical stores. Now they have online presence as well. But when we talk about companies like Boohoo, Misguided, ASOS, they all have the online presence. They are known for the e-commerce stores. So it is much quicker for them to deliver or to offer the product on their online e-commerce stores, ready to buy for the customers within 3 to 4 days. So that is a comparison of fast and ultra fast. Fast fashion supply chain is about 15 days, but ultra fast fashion supply chain, it is about 3 to 4 days, maximum a week time. It could be much quicker as well. So these are two examples of fast and ultra fast supply chain. H&M, Zara, Boohoo, and ASOS. They are very good example in comparison to fast and ultra fast supply chains. Now let's talk about the drivers of ultra fast fashion supply chain. Now, first driver is the consumer power, where we focus on the production based on the consumer demand. So in that case, what consumers are looking for, we get the market feedback, we get the feedback from social media, we get the feedback on our e-commerce store, what they like, what they don't like, what is in trend or what is trending. That is what you might have seen on TikTok and on Instagram as well, or maybe on Facebook. The trending reels, the trending products are coming up, and you often see those trending products. This is in trend, and that is where the feedback comes from. How many people are liking those products? How many people wanted to buy? So that feedback, those organizations are collecting that feedback and use that feedback to manufacture those products. So consumer power is one of the most important one. Digitalization is fashion. Now the fashion is digitalized. Our supply chains are digitalized. So that means having the social media, having the digital technologies that can interact with our consumer, that can tell a story, and that can get the feedback from the consumer. That makes it much more possible for us to get the feedback, to manufacture the product, and our factories are digitalized as well to manufacture the product as quickly as possible. One of the example of digitalization is customized t-shirts or customized product. So when somebody need a customized t-shirt and you have a unique design to print on it, you can just upload the design and just print one t-shirt. So you don't need to buy in bulk anymore. So that is how the factories are being digitalized. Now after that, vertical integrated e-commerce. Now the e-commerce is being vertically integrated, which means that it is connected with several different type of applications, several different type of technologies, where we can focus on one industry or create a unique personalized shopping experience for our consumers, for our buyer. So having vertical integration of e-commerce, for example, now, when we have a e-commerce stores, let's say, for example, on Shopify or on Magento or WooCommerce or BigCommerce or any of the platform, we have an e-commerce store, or maybe a customized design. We have an e-commerce store. We can integrate that store, any activities happening on that store, with the logistic provider, with any other service provider, with any different type of application which can add value to the shopping experience for the buyer. And there are several different type of applications available. As an example, when somebody goes to a store and buy a product, they have to pay at the checkout. So checkout is an different organization who is providing you the checkout, where the people can pay by card or by any other different type of sources. They can pay for the item, and once the checkout happen, then it automatically print the packing slip, it automatically prints the labels, and all the order goes to the logistic provider website as well. So where you can track the order in the real time. So that all are integrated, that somebody doesn't have to do it manually anymore. It is all integrated. It all happens automatically and almost real time. So vertical integration of e-commerce, that has given us opportunity to make that process as quicker as possible to deliver the product and the information to our consumers as well. Now the other way is onshoring and nearshoring. Onshoring, which is like we are having local manufacturers and close to stores or the customers. We having manufacturers building factories within the area, or building or having buying products within the local market, local wholesalers or local distributors. That gives a much better opportunity to buy the product much quicker and to supply the product much quicker as well, having the local manufacturing and having the local wholesalers or the distributors. Lead time. When we have local manufacturers or local distributors and we are buying product from them, it could be slightly costly, but at the same time, it reduces a lot of effort on logistics, lot of effort on bringing the product from Far Eastern countries or any other country, and it reduces the lead time as well. And that is what customers need. They need to get the product as quickly as possible. Now, I give you an example. Most of the time when we see that on one of the platform there is a product which you want to buy, but they will deliver in 10 days time. It might be slightly cheaper, but they are going to deliver in 10 days time. But if you go to Amazon and you find that product on a slightly higher price, but you will get it by same day or next day, which one you prefer? Think about it. Which one you prefer? That is what the customer mindset is. Can they wait for the product or they don't want to wait for the product? That decide on the requirement of the customers, and that decide the lead time as well. Nowadays, most of the customers need to or would like to have the product as early as possible because they paid for the product, they don't want to wait, they want to get it as quickly as possible. Another example of the lead time, not from the fashion or e-commerce industry. Let's suppose you are going for a Starbucks or Costa Cafe, and you see there is a big queue, and the lead time will be about 15 to 20 minutes. Would you like to wait in the queue for a cup of coffee, or would you like to go for a different store, maybe their competitor, and buy the coffee from there because there is no queue and the lead time is about a couple of minutes? Now think about it. Which one you prefer? I think, in my experience, I would rather go to a competitor and buy it from there because I don't want to wait for 15-20 minutes and waste my time. So that is what the mindset is. The consumer's mindset is changing, and that is why we need the lead time to be reduced and create a ultra fast supply chain. Inventory is another good one, where we look at the quantity and the flow of good between the manufacturers to the warehouse and to the point of sale. So that keeping the inventory at different stages, do we have to keep that inventory or can we avoid that? So as an example, why do we need a distributor when we can buy directly from a manufacturer? Or why do we need a wholesaler in between the retailer and a manufacturer? Why can't we buy it directly? And that opportunity has been provided by the e-commerce or the cloud-based platforms where the consumers can go directly and buy the items from the manufacturers itself. So the t-shirt printing example, and I will put a link of a YouTube video on t-shirt printing, which is a very good example of how we are moving from the traditional supply chain, which had a retailer, wholesaler, distributor and manufacturer, to a ultra fast supply chain where we only have the consumer and the manufacturer. There is no need for retailer, there is no need for wholesaler, there is no need for distributor as well. Now that has given us the opportunity to reduce the inventory within our supply chain. And when we talk about reducing inventory, we are talking about reducing the waste, which we will learn in the next session. Now we can have supply chain strategies for that, which we are going to talk about: lean, agile, and responsive, to becoming more and more responsive, because ultra fast supply chains need to be more and more responsive. And that is what we are going to learn in the next session. Now, if you are associated with the supply chain, think about it. Where do you stand? Or what do we need to create a ultra fast supply chain? Or what is the difference between the fast supply chain and ultra fast supply chain? So first one is consumer power. Consumer power is medium in the fast supply chain when we have mass production. For example, Zara, they have more than 5,000 stores and they have to produce in bulk, in high volume. But in ultra fast supply chain, the consumer power is high because consumer can switch from one place to another place, from one supplier to another supplier, from one seller to another seller very quickly. And the demand is sometimes unpredictable as well. And the demand is also feedback driven based on what consumers are looking for. In ultra fast supply chain, we only manufacture what is demanded by the consumer. Not more, not less. So if the demand is for 500, we only manufacture 500 plus minus 5% just for the quality issues and all that. But the high demand, high, it is the consumer power is high, and that is feedback driven. In terms of digitalization, in fast fashion, the digitalization is partially, but in ultra fast fashion, the digitalization is totally, which means that the partial digitalization, there are some manual work need to be done. For example, the logistics and all that is not connected properly with the supply chain or with the cloud platform or with your e-commerce platform. But when we talk about ultra fast fashion, is totally integrated, which we call it vertical integration of e-commerce. Again, the vertical integration of e-commerce is partially in fast fashion, but is fully integrated in the ultra fast fashion. Now, onshoring and nearshoring, where we have global manufacturing, which is in the case of Zara, H&M, and Forever 21. But in other cases like Boohoo, Misguided, or ASOS, we got local manufacturing. They rely on local manufacturing because they need to get the product as quickly as possible. They can't just wait to manufacture product in Far Eastern country from India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and wait for 20 days to for shipment to arrive in the European market, and then make it available to sell on e-commerce platform or their stores. So the local manufacturing is much more quicker. Manufacture within the country or as nearby from your warehouse, and get the inventory as quickly as possible. Now, lead time in fast fashion is 2 to 4 weeks, and in ultra fast is few days to a week. Now, inventory is medium to low. They keep medium inventory or low inventory, but in ultra fast fashion, they keep minimum inventory. Why? Because they don't need to go to Far Eastern countries or any other country to buy the product. They can quickly go to the local manufacturer and get the inventory from them. So in that case, there is always trade-off about how many deliveries should we get. Do we get the delivery, like if the demand is 500 per day, do we get the delivery 100 after each couple of hours, or do we get the delivery 500 at one time for the whole day? Same examples could be for a week or could be for a month as well. There is always trade-off. More number of deliveries coming in, more the expenses will be, or more the cost will be. So we try to keep the inventory as minimum as we can in ultra fast fashion, because in ultra fast supply chain we got sometimes too much variety. So for example, Boohoo and ASOS, they have a lot of variety, a lot of different product in store. Same as Amazon, they have a lot of hundreds of thousands of products in each warehouse they keep. So they try to keep the minimum inventory based on the demand, how many they are going to sell in 3 days time, 4 days time, based on how often the supplier is sending the product to them. Now, the supply chain strategies in the fast fashion or the fast supply chain could be lean and agile, but in ultra fast is lean and agile, but at the same time need to be highly responsive as well. That is very, very important, to have a lean, agile, but at the same time a very responsive supply chain. As I mentioned earlier, in the next session we will talk about lean and agile and becoming a responsive supply chain. Now, some of the other difference in fast and ultra fast supply chain, again I'm taking the fashion industry example because that is a very good example of moving from fast to ultra fast supply chain. Now, the very first one Direct to consumer, the both are direct to consumer, but that the fast fashion model focus on mass production of clothes. So mass production where the costs are driven down based on the production. They talk about the economies of scale, and they introduce about 2000 to 11,000 pieces, which is the 2000 to 11,000 articles introduced annually. Articles, different SKUs introduced annually in the fast fashion. But when we talk about ultra fast fashion, they introduce 11,000 to 200,000 articles, different SKUs every year. Now you can see the high number of SKUs, and they'll try to deliver it on with a very quick lead time, which focus on producing based on demand only. What is in demand? Only produce based on demand. Whereas in fast fashion, they were producing in with mass production principles to drive the cost down. Now, to drive the cost down, that is fast fashion. But when we talk about a high variety of product of SKUs in ultra fast fashion, that is maybe the cost may not be cost may be high in comparison with the fast fashion. Now in fast fashion, which is not vertically integrated, but the ultra fast fashion is vertically integrated. In fast fashion, we talk about agile supply chain, but in ultra fast fashion, we talk about agile, which is lean plus agile, but at the same time, responsive supply chain strategy. Now, these are some of the examples which we have already talked about. That is a bit more explanation on that. So you can read and think about what supply chain you are in, where do you stand, and how can you create a fast or ultra fast supply chain, or how do you move from a fast supply chain to ultra fast supply chain. Now so far I have given you an example of fashion supply chain. Can we build an ultra fast supply chain in any other industry? Yes, we can. Now a very good example of ultra fast food supply chain, the concept of automats. Automats has been adopted in Netherlands, and that has been widely used by many of the supply chains in Netherlands. So automats, the concept started in USA. It's about like 100 years ago, but that never been successful in USA. But now the concept has been really successful in Netherlands. So the first thing is that it doesn't matter if the concept is failing in one country, that will fail in other country as well. In one culture to other culture, one country to another country, the concept can be useful. Now that automat concept is being used by some of the stores, some of the food supply chain like McDonald's and KFC, some of the local food supply chains called Faber, Smullers and Snackit. In that concept, they have kiosks on almost all of the train stations or the bus stations and within the city center, where they are very, very busy environment. Footfall is too much. People don't want to queue up to buy a piece of snack, any burger, any pizzas or anything else. So what they did, they came up with the idea that they can have burgers in the front of the kiosk, and at the same time they can have a pay machine there, a card pay machine, where people can pay by card and grab a burger and go. Very quick supply chain, a very quick response to the consumer demand. So the consumer can pay quickly, and within couple of minutes time, without waiting for to be served, they can just pay for it and they can just grab the burger and go immediately. So that concept is being very, very famous in Netherlands, and many other organizations tried to come up with a similar concept. For example, McDonald's, they came up with the drive-through. KFC came up with the drive-through, and nowadays we can see Starbucks and some other cafes are in drive-through as well. So because people don't want to wait, the mindset of the people is changing, and that is why our supply chains are changing as well. So yes, that concept can be adopted in other supply chain. Now you have to think about your supply chain. If you are working and you are part of a supply chain, you have to think about your supply chain. Can you build a ultra fast supply chain? But a very good question is the ultra fast supply chain good? Now I have put a video for you to watch. Here is a link, and I will put there is a link in the document as well. I would like you to watch that video and decide yourself, is ultra fast supply chains are good? You can think about fashion, you can think about any other industry, or you can think about in the industry you are in. So is ultra fast supply chain, ultra fast fashion supply chain, food supply chain, or any other supply chain, is that good? Now watch that video and think about it yourself. In the next session, we will talk about building a supply chain that has lean, agile, and more responsive.